My name is Heather Feather. I'm the owner of Rare Bird Medicine, and today's topic is submissive with a voice. Some two-leggeds definitely have a voice. They got a lot to say, and they're saying it all the time. So, for me, health, wellness, which I think is really an aim for most people. I think that we do want to be well because we want to be joyous, and health is a part of happiness. For some, they talk a lot. They have a lot to say, and that's great. Extroversion is a great teaching. It's a great offering for the more introverted, more submissive, more quiet types. I would say the medicine of somebody that talks a lot or takes the stage all the time or is constantly chomping at the bit to get attention is to practice silence, practice sharing the stage, practice giving others the opportunity to speak, so that you can have the chance to look at your mirrors and receive from others and grow and evolve and receive wisdom that maybe you don't hold, that you won't receive if you're talking all the time. But some two-leggeds are very shy, very submissive, very quiet, very much more comfortable to fall away into the background. If they have a leadership position, they'll lead from behind. There are many different personalities here at Earth School, but people have a tendency to fall into a more introverted or extroverted nature. We are in a dualistic realm. This is a dichotomy: up, down, good, bad, right, wrong, left, right. So for those that are more internal, more introverted, more intuitive in nature, more submissive, more service-oriented, more outward focused than inward focused, I think for those people, that personality matrix tends to prefer harmony to conflict. There are certainly personality matrices down here that are like, send me to the fight, bring it. And then there are those that are just not conflict oriented. They tend to be more peacemakers. They tend to prefer to operate in more harmonious, peaceful paradigms. Now, I'm not saying that that's a better way of being. I think it is important to be able to face conflict, so long as it, contributes to the overall health. There are people that are what I call contrarians. They're just contrary, ornery. They're constantly negating everything that people say. And that's kind of a casting your pearls before swine situation if you choose to argue with those people, because they'll just always have an argument, and so you're literally going nowhere. They're just But sometimes healthy conflict is important. Conflict in a relationship helps us to really understand one another better and how we come to resolution. My sister used to always say, "Ooh, I can't wait to get into my first fight." When she was dating a million years ago. She's been married for a million years now, and I would be like, "What? That's crazy talk." What? I'm an INFJ. It's 1 to 3% of the population. We are intuitive, introverted, and we're just like, I'm trying to be inside myself and not fight with anybody. And I was like, that's a crazy statement. You're so wild. But she would say no, if you're going to date somebody, you need to have conflict because you need to understand one another's conflict resolution skills, and you need to understand how you can get to a peaceable place when you're not in agreement, and that's important to do. The challenge with a more introverted, submissive, passive, service-oriented, peacemaking, harmony-focused personality is that often they will internally coach themselves, try to come to solution and resolution without getting others involved, and they won't give voice. They won't give voice to what is not working for them. Those personality matrices often find it difficult to establish boundaries, and when they do, to remain in them. I know that that's been a challenge of mine, because when I set a boundary, it feels uncomfortable because I want to be loving, accepting, open, and boundaries feel like not that. They feel closed. However, a boundary is actually loving, accepting, and open towards the self. A boundary is how you can establish, when you vocalize something of that nature, oh, I have a line here because if I cross that line, I have to step into not respecting myself and honoring my core values and honoring what does and doesn't work for me. And so a sensitive personality often can have a difficult time doing that, because even if they do speak up, voice it, say like this, oh, I don't, oh, please don't talk to me that way. They'll find often that they're like, okay, just kidding, you be you, you can say whatever you want. It's like, no, it's okay to hold the line, to establish a line, and to hold the line, and to stand for the line, because the question is, when you set a boundary, is that boundary self-respecting? Does it care for you? Is it self-loving? If it is, then it was a healthy boundary to set, and it's a good one to stick to. What I can say is that typically this matrix does have a hard time speaking up because they don't want conflict, because I'm just trying to get along with everybody. And the fact is, you're not going to get along with everybody. Not everyone is meant for the garden of your life. If you think about it, how many of you out there choose serial killers to be people in the garden of your life? How many of you, choose bullies to be a consistent part of the garden of your life? Bullying is emotionally abusive. It's untoward. It's unnecessary. It's disrespectful. It is disingenuous because you're actually made out of love. So I can certainly say I've had some bullies in my life. And it's taken me some time to speak up and be like, don't talk to me that way. I had a dear friend recently mention that she had an experience where a rule-following person was being really strict and argumentative and loud and aggressive about the particular rules they felt that she should follow. And she got out of the car and said, like, you owe me an apology. And I was like, yes, sister, yes. It is okay to speak up, and it is okay to give yourself permission as you walk in this life to say, don't talk to me that way. I'm not the boss of you, and you're welcome to speak any way you want, but if you're going to speak that way, let's be clear that I have a boundary around how people communicate with me. So I can either leave or you can leave. You're also welcome to lose my number. Don't talk to me that way. You're welcome to not contact me until you can figure out how to speak with me in a respectful way. And if you can't figure out how to do that, not everybody in the world is supposed to be in the garden of my life. Bye. Bye, Felicia. It is okay. It is okay to speak your truth. And the challenge, I think, for the sensitives, for the submissives, is, sexually speaking, a submissive, typically, with a dominant personality matrix as a lover, they typically have a safe word, because typically there is a boundary or a line that if you cross it in your imagination and in your exploration, which I would always encourage that sexually, be imaginative, explore everybody, see what you like. But usually you have a safe word, a place at which the submissive is able to use their voice to support them not engaging in something that really engenders a sense of non-safety, non-self-stewardship, self-care, self-respect. So what I'm talking about today is outside of the bedroom, a submissive personality having the freedom and liberation. And in order to have that, we have to give it to ourselves. We have to say, I give you permission, sweet little submissive, to speak up when things don't feel aligned with how I choose to experience reverence, respect, love in my life. I will give voice to it. I will stand up for myself. I got to tell you, a lot of the times that I have been most upset with myself, my inner child, if you've done any inner child therapeutic work, which I highly recommend, my inner child gets to kind of flailing and being really frustrated with me, is when I don't speak up, when I don't stand up for myself, when I let someone talk crazy to me, and I'm just like, okay, sorry, and it's like, no, don't talk crazy to me. Don't do that. No, you need to get away from me or I'll get away from you. Okay? I'm not trying to boss your body around or your mouth around, but I am the boss of my ears and my body, and I'm happy to take them somewhere else if you want to be ugly today. So that's okay for me to do, and I'm willing to do that. So I think that it is helpful to establish a contract with the self, to establish an agreement with the self that I will honor the way that I feel. The beautiful thing about being kind of more submissive and more introverted, and both matrices are really beautiful. It's beautiful to be extroverted. My extroverted friends are my great teachers on how to like step into greater freedom of expression and how to allow myself to be shared with the world. But I would say the beautiful thing about being a more introverted, empathic, sensitive soul is that you are a feeler. So really your feelings are pretty loud, and your feelings will tell you like, ew, ew, that doesn't feel good. Like the way you're being with me doesn't feel good. So I think it is supportive to have a contract with the self that if I feel off, I open my throat chakra. I place a blue colored light. I usually recommend people use the color of blue that feels right to their spirit. Maybe it's turquoise, maybe it's cobalt blue, maybe it's a soft blue. You certainly know the greatest medicine for you. You're the answer, the way, and the light for yourself. But to fill that blue throat chakra, fill it with blue light as you breathe, when you wait in line, when you're driving, whenever you think of it, just to energetically open the channel and give it freedom of expression, and to have a contract with this area that you are allowed to speak and give voice anytime your heart feels off. Now that can be an uncomfortable conversation, and I've been in some of those this year where I've had to give voice to things that it's like, well, we could just put up with it. Which is like where I've been most of my life, and it's been really uncomfortable a lot of my life. It's like, no, I don't have to actually. I'm going to go ahead and give voice to this, even if it's uncomfortable for both of us. The thing is, you're not a steward for someone else's response. And I think a lot of why we don't communicate things is because we feel, if I say that, that's going to hurt their feelings. If I say that, that's going to, well, first of all, that's assumptive. And second of all, you're never responsible for how another two-legged chooses to perceive and receive you. So there are some two-leggeds that can choose to perceive and receive you with non-judgmental, receptive, loving, understanding, compassionate eyes. And that is certainly a situation and a tremendous prize that exists down here at Earth School. And there are those that just have an ugly, dark, judgmental mind. And it doesn't matter what you say, they're still going to judge you and criticize you. It's like, you might as well be your authentic self and speak your truth, because either way, people are going to judge you. And judgment is like a paltry sum of what a two-legged can offer. Like out of the spectrum of what a two-legged can offer in the vertical axis of consciousness, judgment is just one of the lowest things that somebody can flick out in their offering spectrum. Here you go. Here you go. I've chosen to not understand you, to judge you, to think the lowest and worst of you. And it's like, okay, well, you're being really low-minded, so why am I going to be attached to the lowest version of yourself in response to me? Like, I know that if you were in a better space, you could hold this in a better way, and I'm not responsible for, our best changes every day, and I'm not responsible for you having a bad day and choosing to hold things in a negative way and choosing to see the worst in me. That's your work. That's your work. Our individual work is to be aware of the self, honor the self temple, speak up for it, give it liberated voice, and be willing to face those uncomfortable conversations that ultimately honor the self. Because what happens when we practice self-love, self-respect, and self-care, which includes setting boundaries and sticking to them, what happens is we find over time, eventually, that the people that we allow into the garden of our mind, the garden of our awareness, the garden of our consciousness, which is essentially everything we expose our eyes to, we will find that those are healthier, happier people that are more conducive to being supporting stewards of the guardianship of your beingness. And you would be able to do the same, because you would be stepping towards greater health and balance in the way you be as a submissive when you are allowed to speak free. Go to rarebirdmedicine.com and click on the classes link. We've got some awesome things starting in September. We'd love to have you join us. You can always subscribe on YouTube to Rare Bird Medicine, and I'd love to hear your comments. You're also welcome to like. Blessed be.